Well, good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday morning, and this is Live Mike. I'm your host, Michael Gantt. I look a little ragged. If I do, you'll have to forgive me. We had exciting times around our house last night. We were just getting ready to go to bed, and I heard a little gurgling noise come out of the bathroom, and I looked in. And apparently, the town had a blockage in a sewer line downstream from our house. And we live at the last house on the route to the main sewer line. And so everybody above us, which is a pretty sizable neighborhood, all of their sewage came into our bathroom. And I'm not going to go into graphic detail, but it was it was a stressful night. It really was a stressful night. But anyway, we're fine. We're getting. I'm going to have to gut the bathroom. I've got a contractor on the way to look at it. We've got a cleaning company that's going to come in and do the initial cleanup. And in all things, the Word of God says, in all things give thanks, and in every situation give Him praise. And we're doing that this morning. I am glad to have you with me. I've got a special guest in just a moment. But before I introduce him, I want to tell you about an upcoming program that's coming just this coming Thursday night. On Thursday night, January 8th, my special guests are Rustic Chill. They are a gospel band from Schoharie, New York. I've been getting to know these folks a little bit over the last few weeks, and they're a pretty amazing group of people. They do mostly their own music. They write their own music and perform it. They're kind of an acoustic sound, and they're really an interesting group of people. So they are going to be my guest on Thursday night. Excuse me, at 8:30. If we can make the technology work, they're going to even do a couple of their numbers for us right online. So do not miss Rustic Chill coming up this coming Thursday night at 8:30. Well, I have a special guest this morning. His name is Hank Poitras. He is an ex-Marine, an Iraqi war vet. He's recently been named the chairman of the Windham County Republican Committee. He's the host of Planet Hank and Brattleboro News. He's streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and a bunch of other platforms. And I often describe people, tell me about Hank Poitras. I said, well, he's kind of a self-proclaimed lightning rod. Hey, Hank, welcome in.
Yeah,
good to see you this morning.
How are you, sir?
Now, if I know how your night usually goes, you're a night owl. You're out prowling for news all the time. I see videos. You've done it 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So I appreciate you getting up and joining us today. Welcome to Live Mike.
Well, thank you for having me, Pastor.
Well, it's I've been meaning to do this for a long time, and we got together a few weeks ago. My daughter Robin is in there. She's saying good morning, Hank. So you heard about my night. I was ankle deep, and I was ankle deep, and usually when I'm knee deep in trouble, it's not the liquid kind. Okay. But it was what a shock. I just heard a little bloop from our plumbing in the bathroom, and the next thing I knew, we were being overrun. Kimberly Elmore from Bellows Falls is jumping in here. So Hank, when we were talking yesterday, we were talking about our conversation, and I made the comment to you that most of my folks, when I introduce a new personality or something, they really want less to know about what you do and more about who you are. So I'd love to kind of poke around and tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, how you got to where you are, why you do what you are. I know that you're a Marine Corps, right? You're a Marine Corps vet.
Yes, sir.
Not a Marine Corps vet. You're a Marine Corps vet. I wouldn't mind having a Marine Corps vet. Or maybe a red Mustang. I don't know either one. But so tell us about Hank Poitras.
Well, okay. So I'm Hank. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I am... I guess, that's a broad question, I guess. So tell me about me. I would say, I guess, the number one thing about me that when I talk about myself is I'm a father, and I have a wonderful son who's 19 years old. And it sort of was like, that sent me on a direction in life that, you know, is the most remarkable thing that's happened to me, even though I've lived a full life. But,
Mhm.
you know, fatherhood, I think, is really what shaped me into somebody. You know, I think it
Mhm.
was the most profound thing that happened to me in my life. And I've been thankful for it every day. And I'm
Yeah.
so proud of my son.
Yeah. So you've been thankful for a son for 19 years. I'm thankful for one son for 53 years. which kind of shows everybody what generations kind of separate us.
Okay.
Yeah. But so you when were you deployed in Iraq? Was that during the Gulf War?
No, it was during Iraqi freedom, which was in 2003. We deployed to Iraq to confront Saddam Hussein for the
Right.
second time
Yeah,
for
right.
the
Yeah.
U.S. And so I joined the military out of high school when I was a senior in high school,
Mhm.
and I did a program called MEPS, which is basically when they work with you as a senior and build you up and, you know, have you go down and take the tests and do everything sort of ahead of time so that
Mhm.
when you graduate from high school you can head directly off and go to boot camp.
Yeah.
So
As in Paris Island?
yes, Paris Island. Yeah, only real Marines come from
Well,
Paris
that's
Island.
right.
Yeah,
Well,
Hollywood
you have
Marines.
to understand, I'm a Carolina boy, so I know all about Fort Bragg. I know all about Paris Island. It's that's
Uh,
yeah, real
sand
Marines come from
fleas,
Paris Island.
sand fleas, alligators,
Hmm.
swamps, you know, all of it. And so being from the Northeast was very easy to be going into that environment. I mean, it was a little hot, you know, even though we have very hot, humid summers up here. The other thing we have up here is very cold weather and a lot of elevation. So when you get down into the Carolinas, it's very flat. There's no elevation, and it's very rare that it gets too cold or too much snow on the ground. Like they do get it, but it's very weak amount.
Yeah,
Like they put 2, 3 inches on the ground and they panic and shut everything down. But
yeah,
coming,
they shut everything down. Now you have to understand, I'm from the Blue Ridge Mountains. I'm on the other end of North Carolina, so we got hills down there. It's not flat there, but Paris Island and that area down there on the coast, that's some flat stuff. That's matter of
yeah,
fact, some
and
of it's below sea level.
right. And, you know, so you're dealing with a whole different type of problems, moisture problems and stuff down there. But being from originally from New Hampshire, I grew up in Keene. I was born in Keene, and that gave us, you know, Mount Monadnock. That gave us being out in the woods. It's just
Mhm.
something that I think I took for granted until I got into the Marine Corps was we are
Mhm.
very well equipped for outdoorsy style stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you don't really look at it like that until you get into the military and wake up with snow all over your sleeping bag and then look over to the kids from Florida and realize that it's like, man, that was way more traumatizing for you than it was for me, you know.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. So how long were you in the Marine Corps? Did you
I
do
was in the Marine Corps for 4 years.
4 years? Yeah.
Yep. And so I went to boot camp, was promoted in boot camp as a squad
Mhm.
leader. And then I basically went to my training and went to the fleet and was stationed in California on Camp Pendleton. And then within about a year of being in the fleet, so I had been in the Marine Corps for about almost 2 years at the
Uh,
point when all heck broke loose with Iraq, and
right.
we were starting to get these warning orders, is what it's called, when they basically come out and are like, "Hey, look, we're going to combat. You know, pack your
Mhm.
stuff." And they started doing all kinds of weird stuff, and so then it went very quickly from there. So
Yeah.
we ended up deploying and getting brought to Kuwait. And we
Mhm.
ended up in a situation where we were sitting on these huge campsites that they made for us with right on the border with Iraq and Kuwait.
Right.
And
Mhm.
uh, we were the very first people to deploy. Like I was like the fifth Humvee to cross into the country altogether.
Mhm.
And we got medals for it because in the first war, we came up with Saddam Hussein blew up the oil and caused these huge fires in the desert. We saw those pictures through the 90s of like the black smoke going up and then burning. And we were able to be the very first people in the country to sneak in the middle of the night unannounced and get over to what they call a GOSP, a gas oil separation plant, and bust them before they were wiring them up to blow them up.
Wow.
But we got there before they could do it, and we caught them basically with their hands in the cookie jar and arrested them or seized them and POWs and saved the, and then we got some medals for that.
Wow.
Very, very high medal called a PUC, a Presidential Unit Citation Medal, which George Bush gave to us. That basically was, his thanks for saving all the oil.
Yeah. Well, of course, Hussein was kind of, if I can't have it, nobody can.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it was a very, like, that changes things. And that was a very big deal. And I know that it's fun for people to make quips about, oh, it's a war for oil. That's just not where we were as a country. If we were this evil, dangerous country, then maybe it would have been different, because what we didn't do is just take it all.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure there was a large group of people who thought and said we did, or think we should have, or whatever, but we did not do that. And what we did was protect their oil and then turn it back over to the Iraqi people when we also turned Saddam Hussein over to them for trial.
Yeah. So after you got out of the Marines, you kind of, well, how do I say this? You kind of had some tough times.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Yeah. And ended up having some issues with alcohol.
So when I got out of Iraq, there was a situation in combat where there was a rocket propelled grenade that that was shot at me and my Marines, and it hit a wall next to us, too close to our bodies, so that when the very small amount of rock and shrapnel hit us and our protective gear, it wasn't a situation where there were holes through us, but the damage was done in a way that, as a young man, I didn't understand. And frankly, I didn't care. When the explosion hit me and my friends, I dragged my Marine. Without question, muscle memory kicked in. I grabbed the handle on the back of him and I dragged him back into the wall with myself. My ears were bleeding. My hip was messed up. There was, but it was a moment of, hey, looking for blood or looking for holes, which weren't there.
Good.
So whatever, we're fine.
Yeah,
we're fine. And it wasn't until years later that this sort of caught up with me and caught up with all of us as Marines. This was a topic that hadn't been brought into the world yet, of post-traumatic stress disorder, and something that I was hit with, which was traumatic brain injury. The force from the blast was too close to my brain. And there was a lot of stuff that I hadn't properly dealt with, and none of us did. The Marine Corps didn't know how to handle it. We weren't ready for it. And so when we got home, it was a situation of, we're home. Here's our families, and the Marine Corps is not going to stop you from that. They're not going to say, wait a minute, we got to deal with some stuff. No, we marched off the buses, marched back up. Everybody's cheering. My father was there, all our friends and families, everybody. It was a big party. And right from it was very old school. And I feel like they do it different now. But like, it was a moment of, here's the buses, and we're driving back onto base. We saw all of our families and they're just cheering. So we got off the buses and started marching towards them. And I mean, the first thing that happened was my father was there. He had rented this fancy Lincoln Town car. it was like black car service. We had all of our stuff. We ran off the buses as soon as they dismissed us. We ran, and then he had these big cigars, like these big cigars for me and all of the Marines. And then immediately, first thing we did was get in the car and we went out into town and went to a bar to celebrate. And at this point, when you're in the Marine Corps, they take all your personal belongings and put them into base storage. You don't have access to this yet. This takes weeks for us to like logistically do that. So, I mean, we were out in the bars and not just in our uniforms, in our combat uniforms, dirty desert camis that we've been in for months. And now we're right into the bars.
Yeah.
Completely war torn into the bars. And when I tell you, Pastor, they had this, we were in Laguna Beach, California. The entire bar, when we walked in, the whole place stopped because the first thing I said, we're back. And everybody was like, whoa, and started cheering. And then they covered like a 50-foot long bar strip with just drinks for us. Shots, beers, just everybody in there was coming up and paying homage and buying us drinks, even though there's no way we were going to drink this stuff. They were just lining it up as a celebration, like hundreds of glasses of drinks as far as you can see down the bar. And obviously, so we drank our fills and got completely wasted. And it sort of, but, not that I'm glorifying alcohol, but what I'm saying is this type of behavior was celebrated for us as Marines, when now looking back at it, it's like that was highly negative. That was glorifying alcohol for people like me who didn't even know what I was facing. I didn't care. I hadn't even thought about it yet. I was thinking about we're back. We made it. I had lost some friends in this deployment. There was stuff. So when we started, and then the alcohol started, then it started becoming a celebration. So now we were dealing with weeks of meeting up with people in the aftermath of getting home. And it was always drinking and celebrating, and we're buying you drinks. And then, and as the time rolled on, alcohol got its hooks in. It's like that's what Marines do. That's what we do. We fight, and we're crass, and we drink alcohol, and we kick butt and take names, and it turned negative quick. And it happened for me. It happened for tons of my friends. And thankfully today I was able to get away from alcohol. I was able to identify. It took me years of struggling with getting violent and getting mean when I'm drunk. Like that was, and for me to be able to identify what I do and what was happening to the people around me, to be like, hey, look, I can't do this. I can't do this to these people. I can't do it to myself, and get away from it. And so I struggled with that. And now that I see it, and it's been 10 years, I use it as my strength to show myself, like, hey, look what you can face, look what you can deal with, and still make the right choice. Not that I didn't make huge mistakes. I've made huge mistakes in my life and treated people terribly. But at the same time, I look back at that as like, it's one of the major hurdles that I crossed for myself. Wasn't a choice that I made for anybody other than me and my son. First of all, I was like, before my son becomes a man, and so 10 years ago, he was just coming into middle school or whatever, but he's very impressionable. Right. Do I want to be a father who is scary and unreliable? Do I want my son to have apprehension when he sees me, when he's like, I wonder if my dad's drunk, or if he is, what do we do? Like, what do you do when your when your father is scary, and that to me was the biggest fear in my life, was that the people who need me and rely on me were deathfully afraid that they don't know what I'm going to do because I'm too drunk or I'm too angry and I won't get help and they can't stop,
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Do you think, I've known you for a couple of years now. We've spent some time together. We like to get to the pizza house every once in a while and have lunch and everything. And I've seen Now, I didn't know you when you were a drunk.
No.
Okay. I've known a lot of drunks. I recognize it, but I didn't know you when you were a drunk. But I did know you. I'm even going to go back a couple of years ago, and I think we've talked about this. I said, when I first encountered you, and I think a lot of people first encountered you, you came off as a very, very angry. And you started Planet Hank, you started doing the Brattleboro News, and in the early days of that, my wife has watched you since you came on there. She loves to see your antics at night. Mike, come here, look at this. You got to see what this guy's doing today. But what you're talking about, coming through a traumatic experience, falling into some habitual stuff that was not healthy for you or for the people around you. And so that was a growth time. I've seen, and I think I mentioned this to you, Hank, I've seen growth in you even since we got to know each other, because because I don't see you as that angry guy anymore.
Um, okay. So I wouldn't, so okay. I say this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I made my reality show, and
Mm-hmm.
this phrase that I used then, I called it compassion is a drug. Now,
Mm-hmm.
it's a saying that was a modification because anger is one of the most addictive drugs that there is. And I used that all the time. I justified my anger with that's what Marines do. That's what men do. This is how you are. This is my strength. I use this to intimidate or to fight back. It took me a long time to understand that. And what I understand now is that I'm still very, very angry. It's just that I still know how to I know how to insulate everybody else from that. I
Mm-hmm.
know how
Yeah.
to, and we talk about how bad this is. I know how to bottle that stuff up. And
Yeah.
it's not because of me, it's because of everybody else. And
Yeah.
that's not some weird bumper sticker of me trying to machismo people.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's the absolute truth that I have to
Yeah.
face all the time.
Yeah.
I live my life in a certain way where I remove this aspect of it from people. So when you're seeing me online or in my videos or out in person, what I've done is figured out and I've learned through years from when I got home from Iraq and had to face this, that I know how to act appropriately. And
Yeah.
when I feel myself getting angry, I remove myself from the situation.
Yeah.
So I am an expert at this point at management of how to deal with that.
Yeah.
Because again, my biggest fear is to take out the crap that these terrorists put on me and my friends and dump that over here onto my family, my son,
Mhm.
or even honestly, civilians.
Right. Yeah.
Because there was years when you guys are saying, "Oh, we watched you," and
Mhm.
I was teasing people, or I was doing stuff, or I was saying really nasty stuff to everybody, and that
Mhm.
was me dumping that anger out on people,
Yeah.
and
Well, if I, of course, I think of everything in terms of a biblical perspective. The scriptures say, "Be angry and sin not." In other words, anger is not bad, and anger. I mean, Jesus got angry. I know my son Andrew loves to say, when people say to you, "What would Jesus do?" Remind them that flipping tables and whips made out of ropes is an option. Uh, he did that in the temple when he went in and found that it had been corrupted. But so anger is not a bad thing, but when it's not properly channeled, properly directed, then instead of helping, you hurt. And one of the things that I notice in you, um, as I watch you on your program or your videos, uh, you're very direct. A lot of people don't like direct things. I get accused. I get accused all the time of being blunt, and I say no, I'm not blunt. I'm truthful. The truth is sometimes I'm blunt. I mean, you have to face it. But the reality is, I've watched you control your anger. And the other thing is, of course, well, I mean, let's just say it. Let's let the elephant out of the room. You were Brattleboro social media's whipping boy for a long, long time. You
Oh,
you
still,
you would think that everybody hates Hank, and there are some who do.
yes.
Yeah, there are some who do because you poke sensitive places sometimes,
I don't
and you
think that
call
they
out
hate
you
me.
call out things that need to be called out.
I don't necessarily think that they hate me. One of the awkward things that happens here is this is a highly political zone. One of the things about Brattleboro that I've noticed of
Mhm,
watching this place and coming up here with this media and putting
mhm,
myself in it, Brattleboro people, Vermonters, we're all very comfortable here. There's not a moment where you feel like, hey, if I said something to somebody, like maybe you would find in New York City, if
mhm,
you had a bunch of conflict with people in New York that you might not want to have. Some people might think like, hey, whoa, wait a minute. Like, you don't know what you're dealing with. What if somebody does something? You need to protect yourself. You can't have
mhm,
in Brattleboro, we're not really facing stuff like that. People are comfortable here. If they
mhm.
if they have an opinion or if they want to debate with you, they're gonna say something.
Oh yeah.
If you make a post, they're gonna put right on to that, whatever they're thinking, and they're confident in that. It's almost like when a child is very shy out in the world, but then they get home and start being a tyrant and throwing tantrums. They're very
Mhm.
vocal. I have no problem yelling at mom and dad.
Yeah.
But you get out in public and they are scared to death of the world. Even if somebody was, at the
Mhm.
grocery store or strangers, they won't talk to them, but they will scream at people they're comfortable with. In Brattleboro, I've noticed that. And so the hate for me, I also think comes from that these people have seen my content and they like it. They liked it. And then they realized that I have a different political opinion than they do. And
Mhm.
they're disappointed in that. I
Yeah.
think they're mad at that. And that
Mhm.
they want to basically, their comments of we hate you are based in, we wanted you to be one of us because we liked your videos and now we're mad. And
Mm.
because a lot of the insults I see, they're off target. There's this concept of they have three things that they like to do. I'm racist, misogynist. I'm the worst guy in the world. And that is standard. We've seen that in a lot of situations. The other thing they'd like to try to pull is you're not a journalist. You're not a journalist. You're not allowed to be a journalist, basically, because I'm not saying what they want me to say. So that
Mhm.
they want to discredit me on that. And then, this other, I've broken all of their social justice rules, or in some way I've let them down. They want me back. They want to watch my stuff. They want me to do what they want me to do. And nobody likes when somebody doesn't do what they want them to do, you know.
Mhm.
So basically they pin all their problems to Hank, almost in the way that they do with Donald Trump,
Mhm.
sort of taking that anger
Yeah.
and
So
implanting it
so
in
so
people.
nationally, everything that goes wrong is Donald Trump's fault, and locally, everything that goes wrong is Hank Poitras' fault.
There we go.
It's all you. You've done it. You've ruined our community.
I've ruined Brattleboro. I got
Yeah,
it.
well, one of the things, of course, that you have been very vocal on is in the political arena. I mentioned that you've been named the chairman of the Republican Committee. I don't think anybody saw that coming, uh,
No.
but you have been very vocal about a lot of the social justice, if you want to call it that. I call it toxic empathy. I,
Yes.
I do. As a matter of fact, there's an excellent book written by a gal by the name of I can't remember her last name is Stuckey, but she wrote a book called Toxic Empathy, in which she talks about everything is about feelings, and we feel bad, and so we're going to do something. But many, many times, the things that we do don't really fix the problem. They just make me feel better about it. And
Yeah.
I think I know that during the last town meeting cycle and during the last election cycle, I serve as a representative for the representative town meeting, a system, by the way, which I abhor. I,
Yeah.
I don't, because I don't think I don't think that the people that we have been elected to represent are actually being represented. I think there are too many people who are representing their own ideology instead of the people that
The
they
town.
represent. And there's, I mean, we adopted an absolutely choke a cow human services budget last year. And now we're paying the price for it. We're trying to figure out now how to get rid of our trash and how to do this and everything else because the homeowners' tax bills have reached the limit. They've just reached the limit. I mean, we're, and I'm one of them. I've been here, I've been in this town for 53 years. And there are days when my wife and I sit and talk and think, man, maybe we should just move somewhere else. I can't afford to live here anymore. And it's much of it is caused by a bunch of people trying to make them feel better by trying to fix all the problems, but they're not fixing them.
No,
They're just throwing a Band-Aid on them. Now, the problem with you is that you go online and you point that out. You bring receipts. And the people who are impacted by those statements, they don't like it very much.
So I made the huge mistake for last winter. I started a political organization called Real Progress.
Right.
And in my very first event, we had a massive crowd of people. It was a wonderful event. And I did the offense of trying to bring people together from both sides. And it was very effective.
I was there.
It was awesome.
I was there. It was a good
almost
event.
Worked.
Yeah, almost.
People almost were nice to each other until they decided that is unacceptable at all, because what kept happening was they said, we're bringing people together, and what they meant for what in the center was everybody wanted to move the goalpost. They wanted me, the people on the far left thought that what that meant was that I was going to come and join their team. They looked at my event. I had Elizabeth Bridgewater, the head of Wyndham Windsor Housing there. I had some of their heroes. They were speakers. And what they didn't understand was that I'm a right winger. Okay. And that for me to basically retreat off of what I was thinking and come into the center to try to meet them, that was my move. That was my move. They thought what they were getting was me to become and speak on behalf of them. And they liked the idea. When they realized that wasn't it, they started attacking me. They realized that the people on the far left that I was having, they saw the crowd, they saw my popularity in the news videos I make and my social media, and were nervous that I was going to mess up their election cycle, their select board. I was going to have influence. And then all of a sudden came the attack on me, which I would critique myself. I was very green in the moment. It was very new. It all happened so fast. I had more popularity with that arena politically than I thought I was going to have. I had expected 50 people to show up and I was going to be happy. And when that place was bursting at the seams, even I was like, oh boy, what did I start? And we made a lot of people really nervous with what they didn't know what I was going to do. They didn't know what I was going to do with the power of it, with the messaging. And so their first reaction was to do this cancel culture thing. And I basically took the bait. I got involved in it. I said too much. I allowed them, and I bickered back and forth. Now, when I see what happens now, I mean, this is an everyday thing. I mean, we look online right now. I guarantee you there's 10 or 20 of them all bitching about me somewhere. And, and what I know now is that, hey, that's the nature of the beast. I also have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who love what I do and say very nice things. And the real nature of this world, and especially in politics, and this is sort of where when they tried to cancel me and I didn't go away, that made them very mad. And we're seeing that a lot lately with the passing of the great Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
Now, nothing makes these exact people more mad than watching Erica Kirk not shut up. They hate that. They want her quiet. They do not want her wearing a sequin dress. They do not want her hair done. And God forbid she gets a hug from JD Vance and goes out and says anything. They want her quiet, and they wanted me quiet. And what I didn't do, and what I did when all of this happened, and they tried to cancel me and they got nasty, they went in the news. What I did was I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make videos. I'm going to post, and I'm going to work all summer long being me and showing my work ethic. What got me here in the first place? Nobody would have listened to me if I didn't make these news videos. If I didn't call myself to the top, they would have taken it from me and pushed me down. And because I'm a fighter, I continued. And then that's when I realized, I said, I'm a Republican. Why am I playing into their hand and pretending to play nice? That doesn't make any sense. I'm going to build up, and then the Republican thing happened. And so here I am. And I know how to deal with this canceling now. Now I just laugh at it. Yeah. When you go on any public figures X account, there's no nice comments. They're nasty comments. That's the only people who comment. It's like when you go read the Amazon reviews. Nobody's on there like, oh, this was a great shirt. This was a great quarter zip I bought. Let me go on and leave a 500 word. No, if this thing didn't show up, I would have been mad and put a comment. And so that's what we're dealing with. The only people who are complaining are the mad ones. None of the people, I have a wonderful experience in Brattleboro. People think, oh, everybody hates you, Hank. No, they don't. Everybody loves me. When I walk down the street, everybody cheers, says hi, wants to shake my hand, and take selfies with me. That's who is in Brattleboro.
So, but there's something else that's happened.
Yes.
And that's that you quit fighting. In the sense of you said earlier the word that I think was important. You said you took the bait. It was bait, and you took it. Yeah. And you got burned by it. But now you're not biting on the hook anymore. You're not biting on the bait. And there is a tendency every once in a while. I had a thing on a post I made the other day, and some guy came in and made a very, very dismissive comment about a position that I had taken, and what basically called me a moron who just drinks the Kool-Aid, and I believe everything they tell me, as if other people don't do that. But you know what irritated him? Just irritated him to death. I didn't respond.
Yeah.
I did not. And as a matter of fact, and most people that follow me know that I do not respond to those things because I'm not taking the bait.
That's where I'm at with it now.
I'm not going to. I've made my position known. I didn't delete you, so you can make your position known. Go right ahead, have at it. But I'm not going to engage. And I have another fast rule. When I have someone from my camp, which is the Christian camp, who wants to pick a fight in public on social media, I say to them, no, I won't do it. Let's talk privately. Let's talk face to face. I don't do things anonymously, and I don't try to do things in public to get a bunch of people to agree with me. And I've watched you, and I want to commend you for it, Hank. I've watched you stop taking the bait.
Yes.
And the other thing, let me talk about a couple of other things that a lot of people may not know, that while you take videos of people getting arrested, I saw one where there were two people in a fight in a parking lot the other night, and you were there, and they have brawls at some of the local bars on Elliott Street, and you show up, and they're very angry about that. But they also don't know that I love the gig with the Christmas tree. I love the gig with the Christmas tree. That was absolutely amazing. Tell us what my son Andrew's in here, and he says, sorry, I'm the one that starts the fights. And yes, you're right. And you could learn from Hank. Stop starting the fights. He takes a lot after his father. But you went down on Flat Street near the parking garage there and stuck a Christmas tree up in a snowbank somewhere. Tell us about that. What inspired that deal?
Okay, so I had purchased a Christmas tree for our Republican Christmas party.
Uh-huh.
And so I had this, it was a night. It was like I bought a premium tree that was like
Mhm.
$60 for a little tree. So I was sitting there with this extra tree, like, what am I going to do with it? Not only, so I basically threw it in the truck. I probably drank too much coffee and I was like, okay, I'm going to throw this tree in the truck and go down and do this funny video. One of the things that I've lost along the way, okay, everybody here takes my videos so seriously now. Like we talked about it when I first started this, dude. I was driving around on my bike. I was a stand-up comedian, and I was riding around on my bike, like trying to figure out ways to just like have a funny video that was hilarious. And I just
Mhm.
like say what I tried to do is I created this thing called a street roast. When you're doing stand-up comedy, comedians will make fun of the people in the first row,
Well,
and
sure they do. Sure they
that's
do.
my special ability.
Yeah, right.
I'm worse at telling my written jokes than I am of just messing with the crowd and making everybody have a fun time. That's my talent, is that I
Mhm.
can just be like, how's everybody doing? And be like,
Mhm.
what's wrong with you? And just do that the whole time. And that was how I had fun. And my videos used to show that, is that I wanted to be funny. I wanted to say jokes and maybe have a little burn in there. Over the last few years of doing the news, people take it so seriously and they sort of took away my ability to go on my podcast, say funky stuff, say whatever I want, make a joke, say something inappropriate. And
Mhm.
like, so now if I do it, now I have all these, well, maybe I'll call them Karens, go on to the comments and they're like, why are you doing this? I'm not following you to hear a joke. I'm not following you to see a funny post. I'm following you for local news. And it took me, I guess, through last year's canceling, basically to like lately I've been like, you know what? No, I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna do these things. I'm awfully talented, and I know nobody likes to hear someone tell themselves that, but man, there's a lot of me putting myself into it. Not only did I film that video, I made all of those jokes up on the fly. I
Mhm.
can edit it all. I have all the cameras. The other thing about it is I have the rapport with those people. What sort of makes people want to watch it is I have this relationship with people and I have access to that side of life. Whereas, some people may never be able to get
Mhm.
themselves into that. So they sort of are like curious of like,
All
what
right.
these people.
Stop for a minute. I don't want to go by this. You are exactly right. Now you deal with, I think you call that video Christmas with the crackheads or something
Yes.
something like that.
Crackhead
But
Christmas.
but but the reality is that so many people who are doing their do-gooders work, it's the people in it are a part of a program. They don't really have a relationship with them.
It's
And
a
one of the
toxic
things that I've
relationship.
seen is that while you will go film them getting handcuffs put on and getting shoved in the back of a cruiser or getting beat up in the parking lot or anything else, you actually, these people know you.
They trust me.
And they also know that you collect shoes. If you see some guy on the street with no shoes, that you get him a pair of shoes, that you interact with these people. And it has to be because I've seen you do interviews with addicts, with prostitutes, with people and everything else. And I'm not going to over spiritualize you because I would struggle doing that. But that's the stuff that Jesus did. He interacted, he built a relationship with these people. And believe me, I'm not putting a saint's hat on you yet. We've still got to talk about that. But but one of the things that I can see is that here are people who are hurting, they are struggling, and yes, you report on the things that they're struggling with and their failures and when they get arrested and when they get hauled in the back of a cruiser. And yet the next thing I look up and you're on Flat Street with a Christmas tree and you've got some guy who's apparently pretty well lit up saying, how do I look in my hat? And first of all, how do you do that? And secondly, why do you do that?
So one of the misconceptions about Hank
Mm-hmm.
is that I think that people, the way I present myself,
Mm-hmm.
I have made an attempt to grow up. I dress a certain way. I have a political opinion. I have presented it in a way. And a lot of people, I think, assume that I think I'm better than everybody, that
Mm.
I do this because I'm better than crackheads and junkies and homeless people, and they're these lowies, and I'm this guy, I'm looking down on them, and I'm just making fun of them. And it couldn't be further from the truth. When you take a look at what I have said and what brought me through and what happened to me specifically, one thing is I'm highly critical of myself. I know what, and I bottle it up and I cover it up, and I'm good at making a smile. The last thing in the world is that I think that I am better than somebody else who's going through addiction. I have been there. We talked about alcohol. What we didn't talk about was pills. And I've been there. Okay. It was a different era. I've been there. And so when I see these people, I will come up to them when they're crying and nobody's around. And I never post this and I never tell anybody about it. And forgive me for telling everybody about it now. I protect them when I can. I will give them advice when they're being arrested. I will tell them to shut their mouths when they're saying too much. I give them clothes and food. I pull up and check on them. I'll pull up and laugh and say jokes and yell stuff from my car and just be there. One thing I never notice is all these people persecuting me and saying how terrible I treat everybody. What I never see is any of them who own these nonprofits. I never see any of them on Flat Street. I never see any of them helping the people that
Right.
I try to help. Now the videos sometimes also damage these relationships, but part of what is happening is that it's a little bit of tough love. There's people who I show in active addiction at the worst times of their lives. And one of the biggest critiques that people will say is, you're taking advantage of people who are suffering and exploiting it to try to get likes and views. But what they don't see is the private messages from their families that are like, oh my God, I have not seen my son in 5 years. We didn't even recognize him. Can you get in contact with them? Get us a picture. Can you? And I do this work. I show up. Someone's family calls me and asks me to find their child. Who am I to say no? I'll go right down there. I'll spend all day trying to find someone to get a picture to a family. And if I can help them in any way, if I can send a message, I take that part of the work that I do more seriously than I do of I got to get a video.
Yeah.
The thing is, before you judge what I post, think about what I haven't posted. Let's be internally honest about what is occurring in Brattleboro. And I understand that it's inconvenient for people's political message for what I show. And that is part of why I do it. A lot of our big talking, loudmouth organizations and people at Select Board, they sure have a version that they like to tell. And my videos don't exactly line up with what they're saying. And that is the problem with it to them. And so, but behind those videos, there's somebody else here, Hank. And that access that you saw in Crackhead Christmas, that is sort of what's appealing about me and what people can't figure out. Why don't they hate you? Why don't they hate you? Well, because I've earned that.
Yeah.
I've earned that by what I've done and how I've spoken and how I treat people. Because no, I'm not some heartless guy who thinks I'm better than them.
Yeah.
Did it look like I thought I was better than them in the video? No, it looked like, and people said, thank you, Hank. Thank you. That you are a kind person. There's people.
It looked to me like you were having a good time.
And they had the time of their life doing that.
I have a similar kind of thing. We have an amazing team of people at our church at Agape almost down on right in the center of town. And they do a food pantry every Thursday night. They're serving like 80 families a week. And that's families. That's not people. That's families.
Yes.
But I tell people all the time, they say, well, you're just handing out food. I said, you have no idea what that team does in there. It's an amazing team. They know everybody by name. They know what's going on in their life. They know whose boyfriend's beating them up. They know who's, and they will confront. They will confront, and loving confrontation is that's what love does. We had a situation where a fella came in one time, and we were in a group meeting, and I looked him square in the eye. I don't remember his name. I'll call him John. I said, John, are you using? And the people around me were scandalized. You called him out right in front of everybody. I said, of course I did. He is my friend. And he has said to me, I want you to hold me accountable. What you just saw me do was hold him accountable.
Yeah.
Because I love him. And so, yeah, we have every once in a while, we have people stumble into church on Sunday morning, sit in the back row, and they've come up off of the creek bank. They haven't had a bath. They're in dirty clothes. And man, I beeline for them. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Glad you're here. Make yourself, there's going to be some cookies and some lemonade after church. Let's talk. Let's see what's going on. What you are doing is not developing a program. You're engaging with people. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on this morning, is because I think that a lot of people who are feeling that their programs are being threatened by you are missing the point. That what you're doing, you film people getting arrested and beating each other up and everything else, but you also are right there with them.
Yeah.
And you are trying to engage with them in a way that most people don't. I think my son made a comment back, not my son, but my grandson. I can't get back up there to it, but he said a lot of people have compassion for the poor and the addicted when they're behind a keyboard, but when they see them coming down the street, they cross the street.
That's right.
And so a keyboard does not equate compassion.
No. And the idea that, like, what it is that people don't understand that leadership is not convenient. And like you said, you need to oppose that.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people I have filmed and put their stuff out and then be quiet? I guess I'm struggling with how to say it, but I just don't tell everybody these parts. Like, they assume that this isn't happening, but look at that Crackhead Christmas. The only reason why that I have that access or the ability to get this close or have these relationships is because I put the work in, and that those people trust me. They could be mad at me. And if you remember, if you're paying attention, that particular person with the tattoo on his face, I had aired him out getting arrested on a federal fugitive from justice warrant at 69 Alpha. I used his arrest to work against 69 Alpha, who I'm sure at some point it wasn't a good look for him to be the first person dragged out of the new location and get arrested and put up in front of everybody.
Yeah, right.
And still, within 2 days of me putting that video out, he still wants to do a Crackhead Christmas video with me. I just spent 2 nights ago, New Year's Eve out with him, having a mental health emergency.
Yeah.
He had gotten robbed. Someone stole all of his drugs. He was sick and crying. And I sat there with him and, tried to do whatever I could to calm him down. And I checked on him 5 or 6 times until 4 o'clock in the morning while he's freezing out there. And who wasn't there was anybody criticizing him or me or how I do any of these things. And and I'm saying it now. And that's the first time anybody's ever heard of me saying anything like that, because I don't put these videos out. I don't tell people what's happening. And I just don't put that stuff out. It doesn't mean that it's not happening. And it happens more often than me filming them. Yeah. Me pulling up.
I'll tell you another interesting story. Of course, I work with another organization in town that deals with a lot with women in crisis or families in crisis. And that's Branch's Family Resource Center up on Bird Street.
Oh, I've gotten yelled at about this. I've gotten yelled at about Branches several times.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm the chairman of the board. I get it a lot. But our director, who's an amazing woman who was trafficked for 25 years. She was, and a trafficker. She just testified before the Senate in New Jersey about a law that they're getting ready to pass, and they asked her to come down, and they basically tried to accuse her. You don't know what you're talking about. And she said, oh, no, 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 no. I was trafficked in New Jersey. I trafficked women in New Jersey. So don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. But we had been talking a lot in the public about the growing issue of prostitution and trafficking.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Got it.
And basically, the response we were getting back was, you're making this up. This is not going on. You did an interview with a gal who was prostituting herself, and it was very frank, and it was very blunt, and it was very, she was very honest. I mean, she was right up front. And I had a lot of people contact me and say, oh, wow, I guess you were right. You know, my grandson, who's just, well, about 20 years old now, he got propositioned twice, right on the corner of Elliott and Main.
Yeah, of course.
Right off the street. Young girls, not old worn out women, but young girls. I've been winked at and waved at going down the street by the down Flat Street. It is a real problem.
Oh, it's far more damaging. It's far more, and those are the ones. So if you remember that interview, now the reason I did it like I did it, and what she said was so frank, is because otherwise they won't believe it. They don't believe you.
Got to hear it from her.
To be said like that,
yeah.
Because politically in this state, they have already introduced and sponsored, and it's sitting on what's called the wall up in Montpelier. They don't dare floor this bill that's already been approved. It's sitting on the wall waiting to hit the floor. They don't dare put their names and vote on this and have their names attached to the legalization of prostitution. They don't dare do it. But it's sad because several, including our Senator Wendy Harrison, her name's on the bill. Sponsored by Becca White, Wendy Harrison, a whole crew of these women who are supposed to be our elected leaders. And this is their choice, that we want to legalize prostitution for these young women. And come on, if you watch that interview or you head down and take a peek at these women, God forbid you drive a pickup truck. You get in my pickup truck and drive down there. And I got tinted windows.
Yeah, right.
So they can't see. And they've learned what truck it is by now, but still every day when I pull up, they'll start chasing down and waving at it and trying. And then they'll realize it's me and be like, oh crap. And I'll roll the window down and be like, ma'am, are you soliciting me for prostitution? And then they'll be like, oh, no. And it's like, you need to do something with yourself. And it's now, those are the visible ones. Now, let's not forget it's 2026. Happy New Year. And that a lot of prostitution that happens in Brattleboro occurs digitally. Yeah. That you can be getting messages and sending pictures over Instagram, OnlyFans, all of these sites. And now, you know, there's a lot of people making money to fuel their drug habits. And the other thing about prostitution, it's not just drug addicts. There's a lot of people, men and women, who fuel their lives, that pay their car payments, that could have normal lives and families and children, and their school clothes are coming from this. Right. You know, this is.
Let me also add something to this that I don't think a lot of people realize. It's not just prostitution. You have to add the word trafficking.
It can be.
Yeah, I think it is more than we imagine, even here in Brattleboro. And you know, I go back. I want to go. We've got to get out of here, but I want to share one more thing that I think people need to. I go down the street, and you cannot go by a corner, you cannot go by an entrance to a store, you cannot go into McDonald's, anywhere that there's not somebody there with a sign up, you know, asking for food, for money, mostly money, and everything else. And the question is, and I don't know how to run it down, but I'm gonna stick it in your head. How many of those people are being trafficked? Because they're showing up in carloads at exit 1. They're literally being trucked in here from somewhere else. And there's got to be some there's more to it than just a bunch of vagrants begging for money.
Yeah, like I feel like there's a connection to what you're saying, and it's sort of one of the critiques that I started going hard at the nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things is, I mean, they have their mission and they can say that they're helping people, but at the same time, in order for them to get more funding and run their organizations, they have to have people that are in their organizations. And you're right. Is it trafficking to bus people into Brattleboro to go to groundworks? Are you being trafficked? Are you being taken advantage of? Because these people are, the problem we have here is that we have so many people saying, we're going to help you. We're going to help you. Okay, come to our budget meetings. Go to their budget meetings. You can't help them. You don't have the money. We don't have the resources, and we're doing a half-cocked job at.
That was very good self-control there, because I knew where you were going with that. But here is the thing, though. The fact of the matter is that I said, even during our budget discussions back during the last town meeting, I don't believe we ought to give money to any organization that cannot give us documentation of their success.
Yeah, what are we spending the money on?
Is the homeless situation better since we gave you all this money, or is it worse? Is the addiction issue better, or since we gave you all? Nothing is better. I cannot, and this is the thing that frustrates me as a citizen of Brattleboro. None of these people can say, look, we've had this amount. These guys are no longer on drugs. These women are no longer on the street. These people are actually in their own home. That doesn't seem to be the goal.
No.
The goal
is to get more people here because they want to help more people. They don't ever want to clear their plate. They want to heap on more trips to the buffet, and they think, oh, well, we're helping more people. So the story of success is, we had 100 people 3 years ago. We got 300 people now that we're servicing. And that is where we go to ask for more funding. And there's a breakdown in this. Are you helping them? No.
Well, if the numbers keep growing, you're losing ground. Let's try something different.
And when is it enough? When is living in Brattleboro and owning a home and having a business and doing things the priority of the community? When did having a community government turn into, we need to stop homelessness for the world? We need to solve climate change. Mm-hmm. That's not the mission statement of the town of Brattleboro. Why are we spending our town budget funding nonprofits? The point of the nonprofit was, we are giving you an advantage. We're not having you contribute to the state. Why are we spending town budget on companies and entities that are supposed to be able to, we gave you the tax exempt status so that you could get ahead and fund yourselves. Yeah. You're a charity. Why are we paying for this? It makes no sense.
All right. Listen, I said that we wanted to know who Hank Poitras was. I think you got a better idea of who he is now. Hank, thank you very much. It's time to go. Sir. I appreciate you coming on. Maybe we'll do this again sometime.
Yes, sir.
But I got to go now. I've got to deal with a bathroom that's going to need the remodeling. And I'm probably going to have a lot of hate mail to answer. So I'm going to be really busy today.
Yes.
I love you, Hank. We'll have lunch again soon. All right.
Yep. Bye, Pastor. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, that was Hank Poitras. Now you may get to know the man rather than the reputation. And I hope that we've given Hank an opportunity to share his heart. This has been Live Mike. I'm Mike Gantt. I got to go clean up a toilet. Bye-bye.